Hi everyone, welcome to Tea with Serin. As you can guess, my name is Serin, and indeed, I am sipping on tea today. I am sipping on the one and only, the original, the organic green tea today. So if you like, feel free to grab. If you like, feel free to grab any tea around you and sip on some tea with me as we just chat for the next hour. Oh my goodness, I don't think I've ever chatted for like an hour straight. Um, so you gotta help me out here. Uh, my name, like I had mentioned, is Serin, and honestly, I didn't realize how important names are to like a growth of a human being. Hear me out. So the name Serin in Korean means friend of the world. And for anyone who knows me in person knows that I am extremely extroverted and love talking to strangers. And this honestly, like this being the meaning of my name, has really carried on with me through my life. Like, I did couch surfing for a couple months, and people were honestly so kind to me. And I genuinely believe everyone, oh, I should probably silence my phone, that everyone should and could possibly be friends with the other people. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're given the chance to, you'll never know. And I must say, I am definitely an initiator of those conversations. Like, I'm probably, if I was a taxi driver, I would definitely most likely be that annoying taxi driver that will keep on asking you questions when you're just like, shut up, my guy. And that was definitely like a fantasy that I've had, is like being that type of girl, that's like quiet in the sitting in the corner, like just sipping on tea, being all classy, and just like waiting for people to talk to her. But I am like the polar opposite. I will go and talk to the people. And I grew up here in Ohio, and there was a time where I had my white name. I feel like a lot of Asian kids, honestly, like I feel like a lot of immigrant kids really can relate to this. My American name, or as I say, my white name, was created by the one and only lovely help of Google. I'm pretty sure my parents and I typed in like 100 most popular names in America, and then it was in alphabetical order. And then my lack of patience really shows, because my name, or the name that I chose, is Amelia, which starts with an A. And that name now is my middle name, but I can definitely say like my identity as Amelia is very different living my identity as Serin. I know in the trans community they have what they call dead names, and I would say Amelia is my dead name. Like, I no longer identify with her. And the other day I was asked a question by like my recent friend saying, "Hey, does anyone still call you Amelia?" And it made me reflect back, and I was like, yeah, there are actually still some people that call me Amelia. Like, that was the name that I went by until the age of 18. So all of my primary education was done under the name Amelia. So if I met you in elementary school, middle school, or high school, that's the name that you would know me by. And I was looking back, and I really resonate with the people in the trans community, right? When someone calls them by their former name, they say that that's dead naming. So this person dead named you. Or they're dead naming me when they refer to you by the name that you were previous to the gender change. And for me, I guess it's the same thing. It's like, I mean, on all my social medias, literally in everything, like my current friends, they all call me Serin. But now and then I get friends from high school that call me Amelia still. And I mean, I can't blame them, right? Like, they've known me as Amelia for the past, oh my God, I can't do math. For the past, for like 14 years that they've known me, they called me Amelia. So I can see how weird it would be to call me by a different name. But at the same time, it's not that hard of a name. You know, it's like Aaron with an S on it, which is what I usually tell people when they first meet me. Like, hi, my name is Aaron with an S. It's not Sarah. It's not Sharon. It's Serin. And I'm actually very surprised at the amount of people that are like, oh, is it spelled Saaron? Like, Saaron. And that's all to say. I really think the name that you give people is so important. Like, I have friends named Esther, and all the Esthers that I know are actually like beautiful, like drop dead gorgeous. And like, it's like a biblical name, and in the Bible, like, Esther was this character that, like, she was known for her beauty. And so like all the Esthers that I've known are honestly stunning. Maybe it's like a name bias, but I really do believe that you grow into your name, you know? Let me know what you think. Like, what's your name? Do you know the meaning of your name? And if you don't like your name, do you think you'd change it? I think that's something that a lot of people don't know, is that you can legally change your name, I think, for free first time or something like that. I'm not sure, because I was naturalized. I was born in Korea, and then by the time I was 18, let me retract. Can you guys tell, like, I have low-key ADHD that's undiagnosed? So you gotta hang in there with me. I was born in Korea, and then I moved to the States when I was 6. And so when I was 18, I became naturalized. And when that happened was when I could be like, hey, like, I want my name to be Serin Amelia, not Amelia Serin. And for me, that was also like a very big statement, because that's me, like, going by my Korean name. And honestly, like, since going by the name Serin, I've definitely become more proud of my heritage and, like, to be Korean. Ooh, I'm getting a bit of dry mouth. Let me sip on some tea. Cheers. Ooh. This is also why it's not called coffee with Serin. Because, boy, if this is how I am with tea, imagine, you can only imagine how I am with coffee. And you don't want to see that. I'll be bouncing all off the camera, maybe popping off into your room, wherever you're watching this. Hello from all over the world. Where was I? Oh, yeah, the name Serin. Yes. So that's the question I guess I kind of want to leave you with for this first segment is, like, what is your name? Do you know the meaning of your name? Do you resonate with it? Like, from everyone that I've actually talked to who have been named based on the meaning of their name, right? Like, rather than like, oh, my great grandfather's name was Anthony, so my name is Anthony. Yeah, like, that's very common, especially in like Italian communities or like just European based communities. But if your name is like named after like the actual meaning of the name, do you think it really resonates with you? And do you think it's shaped you in any way? A big food for thought today. Oh yeah, and this goes really well with the next segment of this is I have recently turned 25. Yes, 25. Thank you for all those that think I look younger. Thank you. I'm just going to act like there are some of you who thought that I was younger. So thank you. And it was honestly, like, I know I'm being so dramatic, but when I entered 25, I am now in that next category. Because, you know, in like the census, it's 18 to 24 and then 25 to 30 something. And I feel like I genuinely believed by this point in my life that I would have everything figured out. I thought that I would have a house. I thought that I would, I don't know, maybe own a dog. I thought that I would have a steady job. I thought I would, all these XYZs. But the brutal reality of everything is that I don't have all those superficial things that I thought that I would have by the time that I'm 25. I honestly feel like I'm just like learning how to walk as an adult human being in this time. And I am very glad that I was a student at the tail end of 2020 because I felt like I got a chance to kind of learn about adulthood with all the changes that was happening, which I'm very, very grateful for. And I don't think I said this in the beginning, but I am a singer songwriter and I'm a musician. I've also performed. Yes, I've also performed in previous Joy Ruckus Club festivals and am performing in this year's as well. And I have music on all Spotify and all those streaming platforms and all that jazz. Feel free to check it out. It's under my name, Serin O. And that's all to say, making money with music is not traditional. But that's not to say that it's not possible. It definitely is. But you got to get more clever with it. If I was working a 9 to 5 job, it's pretty clear. Like I have to do XYZ, and that's what's expected of me to come in at this time and leave at this time. I have this much vacation hours, and I only need to put this much energy for that job. While as for musicians or any other creatives out there, you could testify that our job is not that clear cut. And that's something that I've definitely been navigating, is like, okay, when do I do certain things for free versus like when do I decide that now is time for me to charge people for the services that I provide. And that is something that I'm still learning. But I can definitely say I've been very blessed in my life for kind of going with the flow. So right now, my main source of income literally came from a client that reached out to me through Instagram. And now I'm writing songs for that person, for that company. And that's like my main source of income. Isn't that crazy? So like I can say I have steady income as a songwriter. And then of course, like I have all my freelance gigs off to the side, but I still have a steady income that's from songwriting. And I thought this world was very, what's the word? Like gray zone. A lot of people that I've talked to initially seemed a bit hush hush about how they make money, especially as musicians. But I'm here to say, like, it's so possible as long as you get creative with it. Like, unless you're trying to go into the music business side of things, which is amazing, but it will be pretty straightforward. You definitely do have to get a bit creative with how you want to make an income as a musician. Like, obviously, live gigging is, I would say, up there. But from everything that we've learned in the past 2 years, we also learned that live gigging might not be the most sustainable. And so musicians were forced to get creative. And like I said, I'm so happy and blessed that that's when I got out of school and had to learn how to do real life alongside everybody else in this new normal. Oh my gosh, I'm saying all these phrases that we've heard like one too many times. And so recently I went to a wedding in Puerto Rico. I know, Puerto Rico. The wife was from England and the husband is from Puerto Rico. So we all went to Puerto Rico. They were all university friends. So it was like a reunion basically of people from university. And it's been about like 2.5, 3 years since I've seen them because they were from my undergrad. And it was honestly so inspiring and almost nice to hear that everyone's on the same boat. Because from the outside, aka social media, it looks like some people are just like they know exactly what they're doing and they have everything lined up, etc., etc. But at that reunion, like talking with everybody, like even the people who have been like literally killing it, getting all these crazy deals and everything, they're still like, WTF am I doing? Like, what am I doing? And they're just winging it. And hearing that really encouraged me. And so to whoever's listening to this and you kind of feel, if you feel stuck, just reach out to other creatives. Like, you'll be very pleasantly surprised to hear that us as creatives, this feeling of being lost is kind of what pushes us, I think, initially in this creative journey. Because I would definitely say, like, I'm still in the beginning stages of my journey, but I'm learning how to walk a bit more confidently in this journey. Because I've been doing the artist thing full time for a year now. Yeah, it's, oh my gosh, it's already been a solid year. And I've learned so much in that year's time period. And in that year's time period, it was the people around me that really inspired me and encouraged me to not give up. Like, obviously, there's that fire within you, but to also see your peers who are like a couple steps ahead of you, or even like a couple steps behind you, you just realize that, wow, like, we're all in this journey together, while at the same time, we're all on our own separate journeys. And another thing that I learned while like being reunited with everybody was how many worlds are actually out there. So hear me out. By worlds, I'm talking about like the realities that we live in. So all of the people that we were reunited with at the wedding were all musicians, because I went to a music college for both my undergrad and for my master's. And so all of my peers are therefore musicians. And there are just so many niches, like whether that's genre specific or like race specific or just aesthetic specific. I was so surprised at the amount of different worlds that exist. And they put things into perspective for me about how silly it is if you ever feel like you're competing against people. If you're in the creative industry, I just want to say you are not competing against anyone. You genuinely are competing against yourself. Like, I know we've all read that in self-help books and like every motivational speech out there, but genuinely, it's so ridiculous to think that we're competing with people, because we're all like in our own little worlds. Like, for me, right? When people are like, "What kind of music do you make?" I'm like, "Oh, I make alternative pop music that's made in the bedroom and that has influences from K-pop, but we're based in like Western music world." What? Okay. And it's to like embrace those worlds, right? Like, I think when you really do have a niche, or you have a group of people that you really vibe with, it's gonna be more than normal to meet people who like don't really know about your world, especially when you're not really like surrounded by people who make your type of music, or especially if you're surrounded by people who are more used to like the traditional jobs. Like my brother, for example, right? He is in a very niche online community that does like virtual YouTubing. I had no idea about that whole world, but it's literally such a big community. Like, they get millions and millions of streams and views all the time. And I had no idea about that world until like my brother told me about it. And like, I guess same thing with me. Like, there are certain artists that I view as like the artists, right? Like, Rina Sayawama for me is like the queen. But there are still people who don't know Rina Sayawama. And for me, that's crazy. But I guess it's like the same thing for them when they like mention like Bob Joe. And I'm like, "Who's Bob Joe?" And they're like, "What? How do you not know Bob Joe?" And you're like, wow. Like, then at that moment, you realize we definitely are in different niches and different worlds. And, ooh, my leg's falling asleep. Let me just scoot this over. Ooh. Oh my gosh. Oh, let me just get in position, y'all. Okay, this is more comfortable. And that's all to say. I think if you find your niche community, like, really lean into it. Not trying to sound all businessy and stuff, but I really think it's about building communities, and like, honestly, for your sanity, to build those communities, especially if you're creative. I'm teaching a student right now on songwriting and all that, and often the question that she asks me is like, is this right? Like, is this the right way to write a song, or is this like the right way to talk with people like on social media and stuff? And I'm like, girlfriend, there's no right way. I think the right way for people is like what feels the most authentic to you. And that's what I tell her. And that's definitely something that I had to learn through time because, like I had mentioned, I had gone to a music university. And initially, my first year, I went in thinking that I was going to become a jazz vocalist. Like, Ella Fitzgerald was my queen. I was determined to scat like the queen, Ella Fitzgerald, to have like the rich voice like Nina Simone, and all these things. But I had partied a bit too hard and not taking care of my voice in the first semester and actually ended up losing my voice for like 2 months. And it's kind of a big deal if you went to school for singing and you lose your voice. And so during that time, I was kind of going through this turmoil of like, what the heck am I trying to do with my life? That whole jazz. And that's how I came across music business. So I ended up studying music business, and for like a while, I really enjoyed it. But then towards the tail end, I started to become a bit like I was like a bit ashamed to, if I'm being like really honest with you guys, because I thought that if I wanted to be someone who writes songs, then I can't be a business person, and vice versa. If I wanted to be a business person, then I shouldn't have these urges to write songs and to be an artist. And I almost started like shaming myself of having these vast different interests, like, and these vast different strengths, and being like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, if you truly wanted to be a songwriter, then why do you care about the way that like your visuals look so much on like social media, and vice versa? Like, if you want to be a business person, then why do you care so much about like authenticity over like numbers and guaranteed successes based on these numbers? And it took a very long time for me to strip down these judgments I had towards what I didn't understand, right? And to just allow myself to be my real authentic self, which is just being Serin O. And I'm learning what it means to be myself, like what it means to be somebody who is interested in like film and directing and all of that, while being a musician who loves performing and loves songwriting but doesn't geek out about theory. And also learning that like I'm a type of artist who loves collaborating rather than doing everything by myself. And so these are a lot of things that I have been digesting for this past, I would say, like 2 years. And I'm coming to a conclusion that all of these strengths and even all of these things that I viewed as weaknesses are what makes me so unique. And that's what makes you so unique. Also, I'm so sorry. When I went to Puerto Rico for the wedding, we went to a beach afterwards, and I got so many little tiny bug bites. And they weren't that itchy initially, but now they're so itchy. Of course, like as I'm talking with you guys is when like the irritation of it all is flaming. And so sorry if that I'm like itching my little tiny bites, guys. That's very unladylike. Speaking of ladylike, that is another thing about my personality that I had a very hard time like digesting. So like I had mentioned way earlier, I am Korean, and I don't know how many of y'all are Korean out there or like Eastern Asian, but definitely in Eastern Asia there's a aesthetic of what is expected in a lady. So like traditionally you be very thin, very quiet, very clean, kind of shy. Like I feel like that's the ideal Eastern Asian lady. And growing up, right, like I watched K-pop and like all those Korean movies, and so those are like the type of characters I saw as like main characters. And I never resonated with any of those. As you could tell from like the past 20 something minutes, I am a vocal person and I love laughing. Like, I love laughing out loud. I love big gregarious movements. I love bright colors. I love talking to strangers and all these things. And for the longest time, like, I had put myself in the box of being like a bro friend. Like, with all my guy friends, I genuinely thought all of them thought me as a bro. And that's definitely had its positives. Like, I think I've friend zoned a lot of people without realizing that I had friend zoned a lot of people. And, but at the same time, that was also my like defense mechanism because at that time, hard to believe, but I did put my value on how guys found me not or attractive. Attractive or not. That's I found my worth and my value in either if guys found me attractive or not attractive. Very hard to believe. Oh my god. That was a joke. That was a joke. And overcoming that, definitely, I mean, I've been in a relationship for almost 2 years now, and that relationship has definitely helped me a lot in like building up my own self-confidence and like really learning who is Serin and how can I be the best version of Serin. He's My boyfriend's really been helping me with all of that, but he's also been helping me understand how my image of myself has really like affected all the relationships around me. And one of those aspects is definitely like my friendships with guys for like the first 4 years of my university life. I guess my university was only for 4 years. So all of my university life really, I had actually like made a YouTube video as well, like talking about how I'm the bro friend and what it means to be a bro friend. And I thought that was like so cool. Like, yeah, I'm a bro friend. But like the older I get, I realized that that was my defense mechanism of being like, oh, like I don't find myself attractive, or like I don't think these people will find me traditionally attractive. So before they can brozone me, I'll brozone them and like lean into it like it's a cool thing. And yeah, being a bro friend is really cool, but I realized the place that I'm coming from was like not a cool place to come from. And so like going back to my natural personality, I can be fairly loud. Like my laughs are pretty booming. And now like becoming more of myself, entering the age of 25, like being in a relationship with someone for 2 years, like becoming more secure in my identity as an artist and like as a woman, I'm learning that all these images that have been imprinted in my brain are just marketing strategies or just like things that society at that time, aka like when I'm growing up, so early 2000s, had shown me what a woman looks like, what a desirable woman looks like, and how not true it is in like real life. And I now can embrace the fact that like pink is my favorite color. For the longest time, like I even denied that pink is my favorite color because I thought people would judge me and think that like I wasn't feminine enough to like pink. So how can you like dare have pink as your favorite color? I know it sounds like literally crazy and ridiculous. And that goes to show like how crazy our brains can be to try to like rationalize our insecurities. And through like honestly my relationship with my boyfriend, he's been helping me break down these lies that have been implanted in my brain for so long, and like learning where those cracks are, like where those lies seeped in, and learning to like take them out and then refill them with the truth. And the truth is, yes, I love Audrey Hepburn. Yes, I love flowers. But at the same time, like, yes, I love, I don't know, like going around doing outdoorsy activities. Like, I love talking with my mouth full, to be honest, all these things. But at the end of the day, like, I am still a woman. And I think that touches up on the next topic of lady friends or same sex friends, whether you identify as a female or as a male, and how important I think it is to have friends of the same sex. We all know that one person who used to like only have all guy friends as a girl or all girlfriends as a guy. And I personally think that's a huge red flag in a person. Oh my gosh, sorry. Ooh. I have this like little tiny little table in front of me, and every time I move my knee, it gets like jiggled. So I apologize if you guys hear any like crinkly dinkly sound effects. But yes, we all know that person, and the reason I think it's a red flag is because usually, oftentimes, I've found that women who are like only friends with guys, actually no, both women and men that only tends to be friends with the opposite sex are usually like super flirtatious, but they usually deny that they're super flirtatious, and they usually are very surprised when like their friend confesses their love to them. Like what? Like don't play dumb. you know and that's just like something that I guess is a pet peeve, is like when people are like, what, like I was like talking to you like every single night and like holding hands with you, but you think I like you? Of course not. Like what? I don't understand that. Like I don't understand 21st century dating at all. So I was in London for past 3 months. I was making some music out there, and I was watching Love Island. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with Love Island, but basically it's like a reality TV show where a bunch of really attractive people are put in this villa in Spain, and the objective goal is to quote love. Find love. And it's so funny on that show because like right, it's for a limited amount of time, so like they're only there for like 2 months, I think, not that long. And they come to a point where they have to like DTR. And before they DTR, there was this like whole fiasco with one of the girl contestants and one of the guy contestants who like have been consistently like seeing each other, have been sleeping in the same bed for like the past couple of days, and then all the guys get put into this place called Casa Amor, which is where they're like tempted with these new batch of hot women. And and then the guys, after like a week in Casa Amor, come back and see like if they come back with the new ladies or if they have been faithful with the current ladies. And vice versa. The girls also have like new hot batch of guys that come in, and like it's like a whole mind game, right? And these two contestants specifically didn't like DTR. And so there was this like whole argument of like, well, like the guy was saying, well, like we weren't in a relationship, so like I could go sleep with like whoever I wanted, but at the end of the day, like I came back to you, so it's whatever. And the girl's like, well, like we were seeing each other basically like exclusively just us two, like how can you say that? And then all this like drama happened, right? And then a couple weeks later, they decide to define the relationship, and their definition of their relationship was that they're exclusive, but they're not boyfriend and girlfriend. I I genuinely don't understand the difference between being boyfriend and girlfriend and being exclusive. Like, what is the difference? Can someone please explain it to me? Like, am I being a millennial by saying that? I just don't understand. I feel like people are just so afraid to like actually commit to a relationship, so they try to find all these little like crevices to like possibly be in a relationship without saying that they're in a relationship. And I feel like that's so like cowardly. Ooh, hot take, hot take. Let me sip on a tea now, because before y'all hate me and start throwing digital tomatoes at me. That's just something that I don't understand personally. That's just my 2 cents. Another thing that popped into my brain. I'm assuming a lot of you guys are Asian or are interested in the Asian culture of some sort. And I've recently come to understand, or it's been brought up to my attention, the whole idea of like Asian narcissism or superficiality that kind of exists in the Asian community. And I think a lot of us can definitely relate to that. Like, the classic, like, doctors and lawyers and all of that, and the reason that we do that is because we want approval from our parents, and our parents want to brag about us to their friends, and so that their friends can brag about a person that they know that went to Harvard and all these things, and how crazy that is. And like, personally, like, I've never really felt that with my parents, but that was something that I had brought on to myself as like the first kid in the family from an immigrant home. I was that kid that was involved in every after school activity, like was in student council, was in the dance team, was in show choir, was in AP classes, like all of that. And now I look back and definitely I do wish I like partied more in high school, because then it would have been out of my system before I went to college. And I mentioned to you guys earlier how I lost my voice and everything in college. It's because I like went wild. I was like, oh my gosh, these are all the things that I told myself I couldn't do until I like made it to college, and I was in Boston. So I was like, oh my gosh, hey, I made it, guys. And so like getting like super wasted every night and staying up and like talking with everybody until 6 in the morning, and then boom, my vocal cords got fried. And that was like the pure reason I was at school for. That was like what I was at school for. So you can only imagine how devastating that was for me. But it makes me think like, how much of the things do we do that? Like, how much of things how much things do we prioritize over the things that we should really prioritize in our lives? And I've watched too many like drama movies or like rom-com movies to allow myself to like take people and things for granted until they're taken away from me. And I do have to say, like, to tell you about a bit of my background. Like, my brother had cancer before, and at a young age he did, and him and I are only 1 year apart, so I was also very young. And so I think that has taught me what it means to really like love and appreciate people. But obviously I'm a human being, and I fail often to tell those that I love around me that I love them, and to really show with my actions. And I can definitely say, like, this past year, like when I'm figuring out like my career and like really living in my head and trying to figure out my reality, I've definitely failed a lot to do that. And I am in a position where my grandparents are still alive from my mom's side, and they are also living abroad, like not in Korea. And so they have been having a lot of problems with their house. Like, so, like with the air conditioner, it hasn't been working properly. So they had to like rent out a new air conditioner. And because of the language barrier, like I was having to help them when I was abroad in England. And not gonna lie, like I would be lying if I said I was super joyful to help them all the time, because I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do this, I have to get this project done by this time to get it to a client, or like I have to write this song by this time. Like, we have all these things to do. And I felt myself like feeling kind of annoyed at my own grandparents. And that was like, I can definitely say that's like one of the lower moments that I've had, is being annoyed by my loved ones when they reach out for help. Because these are the people that have shown me help when I needed it the most. And same with friends, like they're our friends. I've been learning, like I'm 25 now, I'm getting old, y'all. And you really do start losing friends. You get to make new ones, but you definitely start, I guess, like drawing the line with a couple people, whether that's distance, right? Just like the fact of life, or as the two people get to know each other more and more, like as an individual self, you just learn that you're not compatible to be friends anymore. And those moments are quite sad. Um, but at the same time, I guess it's beautiful because that's like a marking point of like, oh, like I am growing into a new person as I enter this new phase of life. And that's all to say, like, if you have those around you that you love, whether that's friends or family members, like this is a reminder, just shoot them a little text. Shoot them a little text saying, like, I love you or miss you or thinking about you. I honestly think those random texts are the best. Or, like, when my friends just randomly message me, like, hey, how have you been? You've been on my mind. That's when I know that they really, like, love me and care about me because rather than, like, the grand gestures of, like, that are shown on my birthday or, like, holiday season, I feel like when people really care about you, it's shown through those little moments of just checking up on each other when there's no reason to. And that's something I'm trying to definitely implement more in my life. And I want to encourage you to do the same. And I have been reading a couple books. I definitely have to say I have been guilty of being kind of obsessed with like the self-help books and all that. But if I can recommend one book to anyone, like in any career field or like in any life situation, it would definitely be Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. This man was in the Marines. And I have like my own 2 cents about, like the US military and all that jazz. But this man alone, like regardless of your political opinion, he has overcome so many obstacles in his life. But he doesn't say it in his book like as if he's bragging or anything. But this book just really shows you that us human beings, we are so much more capable than we think we are. We are we like ourselves are really our worst enemy, but at the same time our best supporter. And reading that book has really encouraged me to commit to this artist journey and becoming a full-time songwriter. And I don't know who needs to hear this right now. Like, even if you have just stopped by for like 2 minutes, I want to encourage you to like to keep going. And if you need a motivational story or to like get a different perspective in another person's life, I would definitely recommend reading Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. If I could just put a link somewhere, I definitely would. Just shoot me a DM on Instagram and I can tell you the name of the book, send you the link that way as well. Now, that is a perfect segue to say, if you guys have liked the chat so far, I love making new friends, as I have mentioned way earlier when I was talking about the names thing. So please do feel free to reach out to me on any social media platforms. Instagram is definitely like the one that I feel the most connected with. Like, I reply to every single DM that I get on Instagram, including like the weird ones. I've gotten a very weird DMs before. I think every female could definitely resonate with this. I think the most bizarre one was when someone asked me for feet pics, but it was in the most respectful way possible. They were like, hi Serin, like I know you have a boyfriend, but I just wanted to see if like you could send me feet pics, like I don't know, it was really weird. I was like, this is oddly respectful for somebody who's asking me for feet pics. But the answer is no. If you want to ask for feet pics, that's a no. But if you want to be friends, yes, like slide into my DM, send me a message, and I love to like chat with whoever, because right now, like, I can't see you, but I guess you can see me, so it'll be really fun for me to see who has listened into this podcast. And before I forget, I just want to say thank you to Joy Ruckus Club and Kublai for having me on this platform for 4 shows now, or 3 shows. Has it been 3 shows? 4 shows now. Like, I'm so surprised you guys haven't gotten tired of me yet. So thank you. I mean, I know like today we've touched upon a lot of topics, a lot of heavy ones and a lot of lighthearted ones, and So I just kind of wanted to like talk about some lighthearted things, some like cute little facts that I've learned recently, which is about animals. I've kind of been oddly into animals. I don't know why that sounded so weird, but all my life, I definitely thought I was a dog person. And I mean, I would definitely still say that I love dogs. I resonate with dogs. I think if I was an animal, I would definitely be a dog. But when I was living in England, um, my boyfriend Luke, he has a cat, or his family has a cat. And I literally fell in love with that cat. And we had looked up ways that like cats try to communicate with human beings. And one of the things that I learned, like for any of you guys who have cats, if you see your cat like half blinking at you or like looking at you with their eyes like half closed, it's them saying, I love you. Is that not the cutest thing in the whole entire world? Because Olive, that's the cat's name. Olive was looking at me like this, and I wasn't sure if she was like wanting to attack me or if she was like falling asleep. But she kept on doing that to me, and then like afterwards, she would often like push her paw against me, and I thought she was like trying to push me, like off of the couch or like the bed or like the seat that I was sitting. But apparently, that's the cat being like, hey, I see you and I love you. How adorable is that? And another thing is that cats, they also have like a um, hierarchy system, but it's like based off of their fertility. So if your cat is like nuded, then I'm so sorry to say your cat is in the bottom hierarchy system. And same with chickens. Did you know that chickens have a hierarchy system and they like peck the ones that are like lower than them. So that's why in huge chicken cages, they usually put in the new chickens in the chicken farm when it's nighttime. And they like sneak them in there so that that chicken doesn't get like pecked to death. Kind of gruesome. But that made me think about our humanity as well. Like we do have weird and bizarre, how English, how American, I mean, of me, bizarre, y'all, bizarre little do. How bizarre our hierarchy system is. Like, it's literally based on our looks and our, like, the amount of paper we have in our bank account. Um, our education system so crazy, right? Because when we think about it with like animals and we hear it, we're like, okay, like we get it, but at the same time it's kind of ridiculous, and you see it in a different perspective. You're like, oh, that's so gruesome. Like, what do you mean you peck to death like the new chicken and all that? And like for new businesses and stuff or new artists, I feel like that's what kind of happens. It's like, why do these predatory like booking agencies that book artists without paying them, or like all those playlist scams, right, that are like, pay me $1,000 and I can get you like 20,000 plays. Like, why do they target like the new chickens, aka like the new artists that are just learning how to be artists? I don't know, that was my little like 2 cent rant about all of that and how it's connected in with the animal world. Oh my gosh, I hope that you guys have enjoyed yourselves, right? Like listening to me just ramble. My brain is just going in random places, and I'm allowing it to do it because you guys make me feel very comfortable to talk about a lot of these topics. And I can definitely say that in the hierarchy of everything, right? Like I would say I'm in the bottom hierarchy in like the entertainment artist world, like because people care about your stats right now and all of that. And I'm in the beginning of my career, so my numbers don't look as high as they probably want it to look. And for me, like what's been keeping me sane and on this journey and not feeling let down is my faith. I can definitely say that I've received the courage to like dive into this artist music thing full blown as I became deeper in my faith. So I am a Christian, and I definitely like encourage all of my friends who are like spiritual to really dive into their spirituality and like dive into their anchor, because for me, believing in Jesus has definitely allowed me to become my full self, like more and more every day. And I don't know how any other faiths are, but like at least in following Jesus, like you are told that you have a purpose and you have been crafted in this world with a purpose that is unique to you. And that for me has given me like the leisure in my heart as I enter and continue this journey of being like a musician. When people are like, oh, you don't have enough numbers or you don't have stats to match like what we're looking for, I go back and I reflect on like, why is it that I write these songs, right? Like for me, the goal of music and the goal of being an artist is not fame. It's to create songs that really resonate with people and can possibly help people understand themselves more. I feel like for a lot of artists it is. And the hard part, I guess, is when we deal with the business side of things of, okay, but at the end of the day though, like how many people can you bring to our platform, or how many people can you bring to the show, like how much money can you make us, which are all like valid reasonings. But to understand that that is only a part of my art, right? Like that is only an outcome of my art rather than the driving factor, has really given me the space and leisure to make the music and like songs that really resonate with me, and to work with people that I really believe in, and vice versa, to work with people that believe in me. And it has also given me the confidence to really trust in my gut, because I guess like in my faith, like the analogy that we use is like bread, like you have to feed yourself like spiritual bread. And for me, that's like praying and reading the Bible and like going to church. And that has really given me like a peace of mind and the leisure that, to be honest, I haven't had for such a long time in my life. Because like now I'm 25, right? And in the entertainment world, like if you're 25, that's the same thing as you being 42, and trying to like start a new career. Like that is possible, but it's definitely a bit harder. And like I acknowledge all these factors that exist, and like all my loved ones, right? Like they are worried about certain things because they love me, and that's their way of showing me that they love me, and I understand that. But to understand also for me that like, okay, this is something that I feel like I am called to, and as long as I am on this journey, there's gonna be opportunities, or there's gonna be plot twists or like storylines in this journey that I haven't planned for, and that's the beauty of life. And that's how I think I've been learning to enjoy my life more, because just recently I graduated from my master's degree, which means just recently I am learning what it means to like live a life outside of academia, outside of like knowing exactly what classes I'm going to be taking next semester and having everything planned out. And faith is definitely what's been keeping me sane through this whole journey. And wow, like I genuinely don't know where I would be without my faith. And that's all to say. I definitely have my ups and my downs. You're just catching me on a good day. To be very, very honest, you're just catching me on a very good day. And so I will obviously be very optimistic on a good day. And I definitely have my downs and my lows. But I'm learning that that's just what makes life so fun, because it's unpredictable. Like I know there's probably planners out there. If that's one of you, I can't really relate to you. I mean, yes, I can to a certain degree. Like I do plan certain things, but I would definitely say I love spontaneity. Is that how I say spontaneity? Spontaneity. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Spontaneity and just kind of winging it. I love winging it, but I'm learning that in the process of winging it, there are certain things that I can plan. And what I can plan is like my mentality and where I want to place my hope and my faith and my confidence in. And so I have been like definitely taking this moment to strengthen my faith and my internal world. So I just want to say thank you all for joining me today. And like I said, feel free to pop on my social medias and say hi. And I hope to see you guys next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Love y'all. Bye.